He's the one.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome along to the wilds of Suffolk. I'm out here yet again doing what I do, walking along in beautiful locations such as this, giving you my thoughts and opinions on things that are happening in the world and the public consciousness. If it's your first time here, welcome. I hope you enjoy what I'm doing today. If you're a returning subscriber, 1,398 of you, last I checked, welcome back, or welcome one and all. It's an honour and a privilege to have you join me for these walks, so thank you one and all for being here. Now, today, by the title of this video, I'm entitling this video, Augmented Reality. Now, before we get into this talk about what I'm going to be talking about today, I'm going to give you the definition. I wrote it down, so that my memory is not as it used to be. To give you the definition of what augmented reality is. And I want you to hold this in your mind as we move through the talk today and talk about the events that are happening in the world currently. And I want you to think about reality. Well, here we go. Walking along in the forest with a quote from myself on my shirt. Makes perfect sense. So, makes about as perfect sense as this video is going to make today. So, augmented reality. Let's see the definition of what augmented reality is, shall we? Okay, you ready? It is an interactive experience that enhances the real world with computer-generated perceptual information overlaying digital content onto real-life environments and objects. Okay, so I'll give you a quick brief into what all that means. Now, there was a few years ago, people were playing a game called Pokemon Go through their telephones. So basically what would happen is in Pokemon Go, they would say that certain Pokemon or creatures or Pokemon, dinosaurs, whatever Pokemon are, monsters, were spotted in particular areas around the world. And if you went there with your phone, the game would, if you look through your phone screen out into the real world, then overlaid on the image that you would get through your phone would be the augmented reality, which would be the game overlaying the real world picture that you have in your phone with computer generated content, so you could see the monsters that you couldn't see in the real world, but through your phone camera you could see them because the game was augmenting them into your reality through the phone screen. Okay, can you see where I'm going to go with this today? I hope so. So, augmented reality. Why am I titling this video Augmented Reality with the events that are going on today? Well, shall we have a bit of a talk about it and discuss why I've titled this Augmented Reality today? Okay. Now, where do we start? There's so many things to go on with today. If you've been here going along with me on these walks for the past few years, I've been doing this for about 4 years now, just 4 years, coming up to 5 years, something like that. It's been a long time that I've been walking around talking to myself in the forest, and mentally I'm probably no better for it. If you asked anyone who knows me, they would tell you I'm no better for it. I'm probably crazier than ever. And that may be true, but to be deemed crazy in a world as crazy as this is, and that's reality, I'd prefer to be crazy. I don't know about you, but I'd prefer to be labelled crazy than normal in this kind of world. So, yeah, if you've been walking with me and listening to this craziness that I've been talking for the past few years. A couple of years ago I said, I hope you're all ready, because things are going to get fucking crazy. I mean, really, out of the box, crazy, right? You remember that? I hope so, because, well, here we are. We're in peak level craziness now, and there's a lot of things that are coming to my attention, and as you well know, I look at a lot of information and I try and disseminate the garbage from the truth. And obviously everything we hear, there's an element of truth to it all. Much like a pearl is made by a bit of grit or a bit of sand that gets into the shell, and it bothers the, is it oyster? Is it an oyster or a clam? I'll get back to you on that one. I can't remember what it is. I think it's an oyster, isn't it? I'm pretty sure it's an oyster. Pretty sure. Not positive. Don't quote me. So a bit of sand or a bit of grit gets inside, and the oyster coats that bit of sand with a layer of mother of pearl, and another layer until it forms a pearl inside the oyster shell. Right, so it's overlaid. Now, at the base of that pearl is that grain of sand, that element of truth in the nugget of news that we hear as the pearl, as delivered to us as the, here you are, here's your news for the day. Here's your platter of complete bullshit that we'd like you to slurp up and do. Oh, yes, it's wonderful. Thank you so much for serving that to me. It's made my day. Oh, I don't know whether you can hear this noise in the background. I do apologise for it. But as I've said before, they're building this new nuclear power station here, which requires loads of trucks and destroying the forest for green energy. Okay. We're not doing that today. I promise. I'll stay away from the green energy bullshit today. Well, I'll try. Anyway, I probably won't. Okay, so as I go through the news, it gets fed to us on a daily basis through the augmented reality, the screen that we're looking at. Remember, we've talked about that before. Plato's allegory of the cave. If you haven't seen it, there's a video I did a long time ago about Plato's allegory of the cave, where the modern cave wall is our phone screen, which is presenting us with this reality, this augmented reality, where you have, how do they word it? Content, computer-generated content, overlaid reality. Okay? Now, where do we start? All right, let's start with AI. Okay? Now, I heard a quote the other day. Oh, and I've got a quote for you later on in the video as well. We'll finish with that one, I think. I heard a quote the other day that said, I think it was Elon Musk or someone like that, said that AI has now consumed all of human history and all books and all everything ever written and created by humans has been consumed by AI in its learning phase of understanding the world. Okay? This reality, if that's what we're calling this reality. Now, for those of you who are new here or haven't seen any of my other videos or just wondering who the hell is this guy, just give you a quick breakdown in that I believe that we're living in the Matrix. As you can probably tell by the intro of my video, I honestly believe that we're living in a created reality, in a matrix of some kind. Created by whom or by what? Don't know. Influenced by what and whom? I don't know. This is all theoretical. I don't know anything. I'm just a crazy guy who walks along in the forest. So take everything I say with a pinch of salt and decide what you think based on what you see. But you have to take in all the information first for you to make an informed decision. So my opinion is one of, we're told 8 billion on the planet, right? And I'm just a guy who lives in a little small country town, walks along in the forest and talks to himself. But I look at a vast amount of information to decide what makes sense to me, which is what I'm asking you to do. Make sense of what you're fed, but you have to consume a diet of a wide variety diet of information to be able to ascertain the truth. That small grain of sand, or that small bit of dust that is the element of truth in all the information that we come across. Okay? Now, AI has gone through all the information, all of human history has been input into AI. That's what I heard. That was the quote. Now, I'm thinking to myself, I mean, I don't know. Maybe somebody out there can correct me and inform me, because honestly, I don't know. Has every ancient papyrus, holy book, all the definition, all the different versions of the holy books, all the ancient writings that are perhaps underneath the Vatican, all the different languages, all those different human content, is it all been digitized? So what you're telling me is all that information that is in all those ancient scrolls, the papyrus, the Nag Hammadi, all these different books and papyrus and all that information, all in different languages, including Sanskrit, and all this stuff has been digitized and put onto the internet so AI can learn it all. But the AI, the American pension system, is still dealt with in a cave, in an old mine shaft, that it takes. You can only get rid of so many thousand employees per month, because of the time it takes to go down and retrieve the physical paper required to be able to get rid of those federal employees. Is that what you're telling me? That all that information has been digitized, all those ancient writings and holy books, and that encyclopedia of information, that entire history of the encyclopedia of information has been digitized, but the American government hasn't. Mm-hmm. No, I believe you. No, I do. I honestly believe it all. So that's an interesting thing to put a pin in, don't you think? That's an interesting question that we should be asking. Okay, so AI is going through all of our entire history and it knows everything, so it's smarter than what we are. I'm wondering what parameters were set to decide what's truthful in all that information that has been digitized and fed. So if you I've spoken about this before, you have the programmers that have a leaning maybe towards the left, who program some of the early AI stuff, that when you ask for pictures of the founding fathers of America, they were all black. Astounding. I mean, I had no idea that the founding fathers of America were all black. Oh, but Chris, the slavery. Oh, the slavery, Chris. The blacks built America. Mm-hmm. No, I believe that too. I do. Now, I heard another interesting quote the other day that I thought was fun. And it was that someone was saying something about black people being a higher percentage of criminals, people represented in the prison system, than white people, but being a lower percentage of the population. Okay? Now, I'm quoting this here, so I'm not saying that, I'm quoting it. But I think it's intriguing to note this, that we have this over-representation of, how do I put this in the right terminology? Because I don't want to get it wrong. People of colour are overrepresented in the prison system, but underrepresented by population. Does that make sense? Now, the quote was, but you can't blame, you can't, that isn't representative of the entire population of people of colour. Just because there's an overrepresentation of people of colour in the prison system, that is not a representation of all people of colour, which I think is fair. Do you? I hope so. Now, I think that's fair. But, it's a big but, not like big buts, I cannot lie. We're told that white people are responsible for slavery, and we should pay reparations to black people who were never held as slaves in our day and age. But we'll get back to that slavery thing in just a second. We have to pay reparations because our ancestors, our previous people who are white, had slaves. So we are all held responsible for what somebody else did because we're white. It's a white privilege, right? So let me see if I get this right. I want to make sure that I'm right with this, okay? There's an overrepresentation of black people, percentage-wise, in the prison system, but that doesn't represent all people of colour. Just make sure we're saying it right. That doesn't represent all of people who are of colour. Because there's a higher percentage, doesn't represent all those black people. But slavery is overrepresented by white people, but that does correlate to all white people now, and we should be held responsible for the sins of our fathers and our forefathers from 400 years ago. Okay, so is that two different rules we have there? Is it two rules? Is it a rule for you and a rule for me? Like, black people can obviously say, drop the N-bomb in songs, but if a white person sings it, you're a racist. Make it make sense. By the way, reparations is bullshit. Now, back to the slavery thing. Now, I've heard people like to stand up and say, oh, yeah, the British, we banned slavery 400 years ago, or whatever it was, 200 years ago, or whatever it was. Okay, we got rid of slavery. Was we good? Okay. Meanwhile, in China, we have, we in the West, we like to pat ourselves on the back and congratulate ourselves. Got rid of slavery. We're good. The white guilt. We don't have to have that anymore because we don't hold slaves anymore. Meanwhile, all of our manufacturing has been shipped over to Asian countries like China, Vietnam, where slave wages are paid to people to produce, manufacture goods that are then sold back to us in the West, because all our manufacturing has gone over there because we can get away with paying slave wages, and then we get cheap t-shirts and cheap solar panels and cheap everything because it's been manufactured by slaves. Oh, but aren't we good people? Aren't we good people for getting rid of slavery a couple of hundred years ago? And aren't we good people that we are greening the planet? We are so good. We're so good at we're fighting climate change by cutting down all those nasty industries that produce all that greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide that the forest thrives on, by the way. I promised I wouldn't go down this climate change road again. I do apologise, people, I do. But aren't we good that we're doing all the right things to fight climate change here in the West, because we're not producing all those nasty CO2s and all those nasty greenhouse gases, because we shipped all of our manufacturing overseas. Woo! We're so nice. And aren't we so good that we don't have slaves anymore? Except the slaves that produce our clothes and do all the manufacturing for us. And then you have someone like Trump comes along and says, well, we can't compete. We can't compete financially, manufacturing in our nation, because obviously we have to pay more for our workers because, people need to be able to live. And you won't take any of our goods in your country, so we have to equalise the trade barriers where we can equally trade around the world, a level playing field, if you will. Remember we spoke about that a few years ago? Level playing field? Okay. So he's talking about equal tariffs on countries. A lot of people are now talking about trade deals. Great. You know, so maybe we can get these countries to up their wages and pay their people properly so they're not slaves to our economies. And the usual rhetoric is, oh, Trump's a Nazi. Yep, Trump's a Nazi. Nazi who supports Israel. That's interesting. Didn't the Nazis kill all the Jews? Well, not all of them, obviously, but we're told in history 6 million, right? Which is the convenient defence for anything that the psychopaths running that nation over there will hold up. Oh, October 7th, the Holocaust, Chris, October 7th. Oh my God, we're the victims, while simultaneously killing women and children and slaughtering ambulance workers, journalists, anyone who's reporting that perhaps that country's doing the wrong thing, the Zionists doing the wrong thing. Oh, but the Holocaust, Chris, the Holocaust. October 7th, Chris, October 7th. Oh my God, we're the victims again. Meanwhile, with the world's most advanced intelligence network run out of that country, Mossad, and the Prime Minister or the President, whatever Netanyahu is, that psychopath, Bibi Netanyahu, was informed by the Egyptian government of an impending attack. And then, you know, Israel's not a big place. You know, for 7 hours or whatever it was, that attack was allowed to continue. Yep. Reality seems real to me. So, yeah, world's crazy. Now, we've been told over and 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 over again that Bitcoin is the digital gold. Bitcoin's the digital gold, Chris. Yeah, you keep on saying Bitcoin's bad, Chris, but you don't know. You just don't know. You don't know. So for those of you who haven't heard me spout about this, welcome. Now, Bitcoin being the new digital gold. So what's happening with gold price lately? Oh, it's rising. It's rising. Ah, right. It's rising in the face of the world economy failing because, well, let's face it, there's too much debt in the system and government's trying to reduce that debt. Well, that's a bad thing. That just proves you're a Nazi. But way too much debt in the system. And if the interest rates go up, the governments can't afford their debt. If the interest rates come down, well, you're just fueling the fire because you're creating more debt. It's a lose-lose, you know. But Bitcoin, that's the new gold. The new gold. So as the price of gold rises and the price of Bitcoin falls, how is Bitcoin a new digital gold? Again? Explain it to me. Oh, but Chris, it's peer-to-peer. Peer-to-peer, you can send money to each other without the middleman. So, no middleman, right? Peer-to-peer. Yep, Chris. Peer-to-peer, no middleman. All right, so why is it so expensive? Oh, that's right, because there's a middleman who do the mining. Of course. Of course. Yes, yeah. No middleman, person to person, Chris, you see. But without the people doing the mining and the hash rate, then how can you send it person to person? How can those blocks be confirmed without paying the middleman, the miners, to mine the coins? Oh, you can mine it yourself, Chris. So my little mining rig that I have at home is now up against and competing for that mining of that Bitcoin, that creation of the Bitcoin, against massive mining pools that are corporate and now government set up. My little Bitcoin mining rig at home is going to compete against those, and I'm going to mine Bitcoin, right? But it's person to person, Chris, peer to peer. There's no middleman except the miners, who they have to be paid for their energy that they're using to keep it working. Bitcoin's the best, Chris, you see. Bitcoin's the best. It's the first. The Bitcoin blockchain hasn't been broken in 13 years. And it's the best, can't you see? The price is the highest. So clearly it's the best, right? If the price is the highest, it must be the best, right? Not that there was regulatory capture for both Bitcoin and Ethereum when Bill Hinman came out and gave a speech and said, Bitcoin is a commodity because we don't know who created it. Bullshit! Sorry, I must have that new version of the Rona. Okay, so it's American intelligence agencies created it. Sorry to burst your bubble there, folks. And Satoshi Nakamoto's wallet has 1 million Bitcoin in it. But we don't know who created it, so it's a commodity because there's no common enterprise, right? That was the definition that the SEC, the American SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, put on it as a commodity because there's no common enterprise. No one's promoting it except every single channel on the TV, every single pundit on the TV, every single YouTube channel, like all the gold and silver channels are even now. Oh, Bitcoin is the one. It's the new digital gold. Of course it is. And Ethereum. Ethereum. It's a wonder of modern computing technology. Is a commodity. It probably started, what did Bill Hinman say? It probably started its life as a security, but now it's just it's sufficiently decentralized that it's not. It's now a commodity, not a security. So it's transitioned without giving any kind of guidance on where that decentralization lays. And strangely, recently, the creator of Ethereum, Vitalik Buterin, a Russian who's based in Canada, fired all the, what were they called? The Ethereum Foundation, everybody, and said, I'm the one. I'm the one who runs this. And until I can think of another way to do it, I'm the one and only. So you have, is that not a common enterprise? Is it not? How can it be decentralized when you have one man making all the decisions for the network? Maybe I'm just too stupid to understand it. But Ethereum was funded by JP Morgan and created by the Chinese. But it's decentralized, Chris. No, I believe you. So the top two, Bitcoin and Ethereum, had 4 years worth of regulatory capture saying that they were the only two that commodities. So JP Morgan's creation of Ethereum, where they had a token factory where they could create all the tokens that they wanted. None of them are securities, of course. And Bitcoin had 4 years worth of regulatory capture so they could own the market, while you had companies like Ripple and XRP under a 4-year lawsuit, which ended up being thrown out because it's a pile of bullshit. But Chris had to pay a $50 million fine. Which proves what? What's it a security of? So we're getting too deep into the weeds here with the whole crypto thing. But the point I want you to focus on is every day we get told Bitcoin is the best. Bitcoin is the best. It's going to form the future of the financial system. Blah, 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 blah. It's on repeat. It's on loop and repeat. Bitcoin's digital gold, except the price has fallen out from underneath it. It's now what, 73,000 or 74,000, and the price of gold keeps on going up. Especially during the turmoil where everything was going down, gold still went up. It's over $3,000 an ounce. One little gold coin is worth $3,000. Wow, yeah. Now we've also heard through the augmented reality machine that you're looking at now, that underneath the pyramids of Giza, now I'm sure we've talked about this before, haven't we? Didn't we talk about this before? When I said there's technology underneath the ground in the Middle East? Didn't I tell you? I'm pretty sure that I've spoken about that before under Israel. Yeah, remember? You remember that? For those of you who have been here for a walk with me before, talking about what's underneath the ground and why I think that everybody wants that area. So we hear recently that underneath the pyramids of Giza in Egypt, that they've done ground penetrating radar, and they found columns and coils that go around the columns that go down 2 kilometers underneath the ground to massive giant stones underneath the ground. And the thinking is that it was an electricity generation device underneath the pyramids. But weren't we told that the pyramids were built like 2,000 years ago by the pharaohs? Bullshit! Oh, sorry, I did it again. Must have that new version of Rona. And this is only just coming to light, by the way. We're hearing all sorts of stories about cancer treatments or cures. You know, Mel Gibson was on Joe Rogan talking about methylene blue and ivermectin and fembenzidol. These kind of things are just coming out. I did a video 2 years ago, I think, 2 or 3 years ago, about, it was called The Future is Now and Very Bright. And in the comment section, I posted 3 patents that were released in January of 2020, just before Trump left office. One was for a plasma electricity generation device, the size of a small car, that generates the same amount of electricity as this $20 billion nuclear power station they're building here. What that does in a year, this generates in a day. Yep, so that patent was released 2020, and then the second patent that was released was a room temperature superconductor. So you can have all the power you want, but if you can't transmit it from place to place without losing too much of it, what's the point, right? So room temperature superconductor means that you are transferring electricity from point A to point B without losing anything along the way, like we do now. That's why we have booster stations everywhere, because you have to boost the signal to enhance the signal to get it from point A to point B, because you're losing through the wires and through heat and light, and you're losing some of that power. But with a room temperature superconductor, you don't lose any. So you can have all the power you need, and it transfers with no loss. Amazing. That was released in 2020 as well. So we've got a bunch of information that's been released. You know, we've got drones flying around everywhere, that like really sophisticated drones that can stay in the air for hours. We have Samsung bringing out a new car battery, EV car battery, electric vehicle car battery, that has a range of 600 miles and it charges in 9 minutes. 9 minutes. Can you imagine? So we're tripping along as people, just trying to maintain ourselves through this craziness, and things are getting crazy. I mean, you know, Europe wants war, which we've spoken about before. They have to have war because everyone's fighting over all the minerals under the ground in Ukraine. Now, Europe wants to continue the war. Why would they want to continue the war, Chris? Well, I'm glad you asked. So we've got to a point now where both sides are ready to make a deal, except Zelensky, because he's a lunatic. And if what has been happening through Ukraine is exposed, the money laundering, the people trafficking, you know, all the nasty, horrible things that have been going on through Ukraine. Oh, but Chris, you don't understand. Because, well, you know, we have to keep supporting Ukraine in their fight against those pesky Russians. Why is that? Why is it that we can't, while people are dying, by the way, by the hundreds of thousands, you know, Russians and Ukrainians and all the other soldiers from around the world that are joining in the war, the mercenaries who are paid mercenaries to go and kill each other, all these people that are dying, and the politicians are stirring keep it going, we've got to drop more bombs, because weapons manufacturers make money when there's war. Also, it's a handy dandy way of laundering money, you know, because the Americans have claimed they've sent hundreds of billions of dollars over to Ukraine, and Zelensky, Volodymyr Zelensky, that cross-dressing comedian weirdo who's pretending to run the country in his in his khakis, like he's on the front lines. He's out there begging the world for more money, more money, more money. And he says, oh yeah, America's only sent us 75 billion. I don't know where the rest is. FTX, laundering money through FTX, through crypto, back into politicians' campaigns perhaps. We're not going to hear about that. SBF went to prison. Sam Bankman-Fried went to prison, the FTX guy. He went to prison, but none of the his parents didn't. If you look into his parents, his mother works for Act Blue, I think, massive Democrat person who collects money for political campaigns. His father is, I think both of them are tax attorneys that graduated Stanford, I think, something like that. And their specialty is setting up shell companies. They own millions of dollars of property in the Cayman Islands. Nothing to see here. Move along. But in Sam Bankman-Fried in his trial, none of the information about political donations was mentioned. But he went to prison for fraud. What does that mean? So, in this world where we have the craziness, I mean, and things are only going to get crazier. Europe wants more war because they want a part of the minerals action. Russia wants a part of the minerals action. Well, of course they do. Ukraine would probably love to have some of it, but hey, they've got no men left to dig it out of the ground anyway. So it's probably just as well that the mineral rights go to other countries. Because it's important to kill a whole generation of young men to hold on to the land that you were going to lose anyway, to prove a point that we're going to lose a whole generation of young men. It's crazy. But Europe wants a war. They need a war. Because otherwise all the industries, and we've talked about this before, politicians are full of shit. They don't do anything. They're corporate masters. Tell them what to do. They're little puppets on a string who wag their fingers, and the politicians, even the stupidest shit. So that they're the puppets, so that we, as the all-thinking populace, we critically examine all the things that are going on in the world. Because I watch CNN, Chris, I know exactly what's happening. You don't understand. So the politicians are the scapegoats. So when shit goes wrong, the corporate masters cut them off and say, well, we'll get another one in. We'll get another one that can take the heat and, keep doing our bidding. Like all the puppets who serve the World Economic Forum, like our two-tier Keir here in the UK, Keir Starmer, who Crown Prosecution Service let all the pedos go. Oh, we don't want to prosecute those pedos who are taking young girls up north because, well, if we do that, we'll be seen to be racist. I mean, they didn't go after any white politicians who were abusing young boys, or Philip Schofield, or any other the pedos either. So, or royalty for that matter. And while we're on the royalty thing, I hear that King Charles, our illustrious leader, the man who's going to lead us all to the promised land, wants to meet with Donald Trump. When Trump is talking about releasing the Epstein files of the people who visited Epstein's Island and raped children. And I don't know whether you know or not, but Prince Andrew, the King's brother, was on that list. I wonder what King Charles wants to talk to Donald Trump about. Yeah. We still haven't seen that list, by the way. It's all redacted. Now, things are going to get crazy. Things are going to get even crazier than they are now, believe it or not. They are. Because as you have a situation where information is being released, or threatened to be released even, the people who are threatened by that information coming out, like information that 20 billion was spent on a transgender theatre company in Pakistan, information like that coming out, the people who are threatened by that information coming out because it threatens their pilfering of that money that didn't go to that theatre group in Pakistan, by the way, the people that are threatened by that information being released and who are profiting from that, this kind of nonsense through printing of money out of nothing with no accountability, will fight back. And they are. oh, there's going to be a Black Monday in the stock market. Remember that? Now, for those of you who don't know as well, the stock market's not like it used to be. They have these things called circuit breakers built into the stock market now. So if the stock price starts to plunge for any reason, they can shut off the trading in that particular item while they reset things, so we can try and print some more money to prop things up a little bit. So those expecting, a crash down 100%, well, it might take a few days, but it can go down. But there's things in place to stop it, trust me, because the wealthiest people in the world are the ones who own all the stocks and shares. Same with the Bitcoin and Ethereum. Oh, but Chris, XRP is a banker's coin. Yeah. And where's all the money? Oh, that's right, in the banks and financial institutions. Now, I'm going to read you this quote. I posted this the other day with Keanu Reeves reading it. Obviously, he's sexier than I am, and his speech is much better. But I'm going to read it for you anyway, because I find it uplifting. And what I want to do when I come out here and do these walks, and it's easy to look at the world and think, oh my God, we're all going to die. Especially if you listen to the media. And it seems like there's no hope. It does, because that's the way it's supposed to seem, to make you feel hopeless, so you give up and you'll give in and you'll lay down and accept whatever you're told as being the truth, and the only solution is XYZ that the government or the corporate body is presenting to you for our way out. Okay? Now, I've spoken endlessly about cryptos. We're going digital, the money's going digital, whether you like it or not. It's happening. It's happening right in front of your face. I post so much about this kind of stuff. I share it in the Telegram group. I share it on Facebook. I share it everywhere, because all the little tick boxes are happening. And I still have people saying, oh, but Chris, the system is going to encapsulate us all and trap us all in the system, and it's not good for us, and blah, blah, blah. I hear you. But if you think the current system is not 100% controlled and manipulated, you're delusional. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but that's true. So, I'm going to read you this, and we'll finish up for the day. But let me read this to you. Now, it's a quote from Oscar Wilde, okay? Every saint has a past, and every sinner has a future. Beautiful, isn't it? A reminder that we are all unfinished stories, scarred by our mistakes, yet redeemed by the hope of what's to come. It whispers that even the darkest moments can be stepping stones to light, that redemption isn't reserved for the perfect. No, it is reserved for the broken, the flawed, the ones who have fallen and dared to rise again. The past doesn't define you, it shapes you, and the future, that's where you'll shine. Now, I wanted to read that out because it really spoke to me, because I've said to you before, I've got most of my life wrong. I'm far from perfect. I've fucked up more things than I've got right in my life. I have. And as an imperfect sinner, broken individual who's, I don't define myself by the shit that I've got wrong. I look at it and I think, how can I do better in the future? And it takes a lot of... I don't know about courage is the right word, but it takes a lot to recognize, to look back at your mistakes and think, oh God, stupid, stupid things I've done. But it's also gives me a moment to contemplate and recognize that without those mistakes, I wouldn't have the ability to see and do and understand things the way that I do, because of those mistakes and those things that I've got wrong in my life. That hasn't defined me. It's made me who I am, to make decisions different than I would have back then, to make me into a different person. Not defined by, but gave me an understanding of how to do things differently to change my life for the future. So we get to this crossroads of, we're bombarded with information, and it is all augmented reality. We are being told a narrative, that this is the truth, when it's clearly not. we've been educated into believing complete bullshit our entire lives. We've been lied to about everything. Oh, fluoride's good for your teeth, Chris. It's good for you. We better put it in the water. Now the truth comes out that fluoride makes you stupid, makes you slow, slows down your brain capacity, calcifies your pineal gland. We don't need that pineal gland anyway. It's a relic of the past, much like gold, Chris. So we've come to these crossroads where everything is a lie. The reality that we're presented with is a complete fabrication, and it's been fabricated to form a narrative to have us think a certain way, or be a certain way, or act a certain way, or conform to a certain way of thinking and a certain socially engineered lifestyle based on what a corporate body, things like the World Economic Forum, these kind of Trilateral Commission, all these kind of think tanks and world international organizations would have you think and would have you do. It's a control mechanism. All of it is to have you controlled and thinking the same way, so that you are the Borg of Star Trek. Resistance is futile. But that's what we were told. Resistance is futile. This is the way things are going to be. That's the way it is. But because we had the gumption and the wherewithal to withstand the attacks and the people coming at us and saying, no, you're wrong, and pointing fingers and wagging fingers and saying, I'm offended. Good, go be offended, fuck off. Because we stood up to that, and because we recognized that the world was taking a shitty direction based on information that was being fed to us by the biggest corporate bodies in the world through their what do they call it? DEI policies, where you had to hire someone based on the colour of their skin. I mean, it seems a bit racist to me, but what do I know? I'm a crazy person. But it is only because there were some of us that stood in the face of blatant tyranny and oppression, and we're being told, no, you're wrong. It was only because we stood up to that and we questioned it and said, no, I'm not following your doctrine of information that I felt was based in bullshit. Because we did that, it broke the narrative. And all this information now is spilling out, and it's being offset by organisations and people that don't want you to wake up to the way that we've been living, the way that you've been treated as a slave, especially by these financial institutions and banks that created money out of nothing and then insisted you pay it back with interest. Now, I want you to, whenever you feel a bit overwhelmed or doubtful or worried that, you're being no one in this world, you're a little nothing in this world, we're told. You have no voice, you're not rich enough, you're not powerful enough to make an influence. Remember that trillions of dollars have gone into manipulating our society to make us think a certain way, and most of us, well, a lot of us anyway, not most of us, there's still a huge proportion of the population that believes the bullshit they hear, but a lot of us have stood up and are now questioning the reality that we're presented with, and calling bullshit on the blatant augmentation of our reality through this false information, through this false dichotomy of this information that's being presented to us as reality, and it's clearly not. So congratulations to all of you who are at least questioning or taking the time to watch this kind of nonsense where I walk around and talk about the stupid shit that I see, and give my spin on it. Congratulations to you if you have the ability to think for yourself and question the reality, because when you have such a weight of corporate money and influence on you, it's easier to conform. And when you don't conform, you're going to face shit from your friends and family and those around you, your circle of influence that tries to influence you to think differently. Congratulations. It takes a lot to stand up to that. And if no one else is patting you on the back, give yourself a little well done. Well done. Now carry that forward. As you go out into the world, I want you to, and you know what's coming next, go out into the world and do good and be good, and you can change the world with the way that you think, the way that you act, the words that you're speaking, what you're sharing, how you're interacting with politicians on Twitter. All those kind of things shape our reality and changes the world to a world that is better, not just for you and me, but for everybody, because we're seeing through the bullshit, we're seeing through the augmentation, and we're poking holes in it so that the average person can see it too. So go out and do that, and you make the world a better place. But most of all, look after yourself and look after each other, and I look forward to seeing you real soon. Thanks so much for being here. Take care. Ciao for now.